Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time. My name is Marnise Nicole and I'm an acrylic painter, and today is part 2 of my sketchbook analysis. I'm taking my old abandoned sketchbooks and going through them just to kind of see what's in them, get some re-inspiration for my project, and just look back into the past. If you don't know, if you're new here, I spent a year not painting. All of 2019 was just kind of an abandoned, lost year for me. And now that I'm back into painting, I've picked up my paintbrush. Now I just really want to stay in that kind of artistic headspace and kind of see where I'm at, see where I'm going, that sort of thing. And so if you haven't watched part 1, go ahead and check that out here. Part 1, we talked about this hefty sketchbook right here. We went through a lot of different concepts, some that will continue on through the rest of these sketchbooks. They're all pretty much dated between 2016 and 2018. This one specifically began in 2017 and continue until 2018. And then we're gonna start off with this sketchbook right here and then work over to this one as well. So this sketchbook, we're gonna start with first because there's not a lot here. This sketchbook is a watercolor sketchbook. It is a Strathmore Vision sketchbook, 6 by 9 inches, and it's terrible sheets that come out. I don't actually like that. I don't think I would buy another terrible sheet type of sketchbook because, as you can see, they're kind of falling out. And I don't like that for storage purposes. It's fun if you're going to set them up, frame them, that sort of thing, but I don't like to do that with my sketchbooks. I like to have like a closed bindered type of situation. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. I specifically got this sketchbook because I wanted to work more with my acrylic inks, and so mostly in this is acrylic ink sketches. Let's go ahead and hop into the first one, which is a self-portrait of myself. Hello. Hi. So yes, this thing right here, this is me. I did a quick sketch to start off with, just a self-portrait and some happy colors and one of my most common hairstyles. Usually you'll find me, once the straight hair has turned back to its curly state, you'll find me in my 2 little pigtails, as well as usually a headband of some kind. This is a very typical Marnise type of outfit. And look how happy she is. This is not really organized because they kind of all fell out and I just kind of put them back together. But this next one is a little landscape. This was done with some quick sketches and markers. I think I spent less than maybe 10 minutes on that. I first laid down some watercolors on this, and then I added some texture on top, some pencil and color pencils on top, just to give it a little bit of texture. I kind of like the kind of laying across the grass. If you know anything about me, I like landscapes and grass and playing with the themes of isolation and color and that sort of thing. Most of my figures, she's sad, if you can see close up. Most of my figures are usually sad ladies because I really feel like emotion is one of the best things to capture when you're making art. So we have this. Oh, another landscape. This one, I don't know what medium this is. I think this is watercolor and gouache, but I'm not really sure. None of these are dated, unfortunately, but I know they had to be between 2017, 2018 for this specific sketch, just because I know I did not have gouache until part way through 2017 into 2018. So, but this was a vase with some flowers, and then the girl with the kind of kimono style outfit, she's faceless. I realized that I kind of paint women without faces. I paint them with their eyes closed. It's partly to do with the fact that I can't really paint well a structural proportioned face. I've never been very good with realistic portraits. I try my hardest to get realistic-esque type of forms, but you know, my noses and my lips and my eyes they all just end up how they look. And at this point, it's a style because it's what I do. But also, yeah, a blank face might have meant that I just didn't know how to correctly make the face. I'm gonna be completely honest with that. It's something I want to work on. Okay. In the last sketchbook tour, we talked about how I use colors just to see if I could get different forms. And so this is another rendition of that, where I took blue, just a color, blue acrylic ink, and used it to kind of create this character. Here's a better angle so you can see it less brilliantly lit by the sun. Yeah, so it's just a whole bunch of blue, and her face is an example of the kind of faces that I kind of draw and sketch myself. Oh, I remember this. Okay, so this one is a little moody rain inspired abstract. The concept was, you know, it's raining, it's pouring, there's sadness. Very typical of me, but I really like the colors and the limited palette in general. This is another quick sketch for me, and it's a very dark theme. Yeah, it's a lot of white, so you wouldn't necessarily think of it as a dark motif type of situation, but it does definitely have a sadness. And if you check out the face, I did something interesting with the lips. The lips are sewn. And so again, this was part of that concept I played with back and forth between 2017 and 2018. I talked about this concept of isolation. I really was exploring isolation as well as vulnerability in like women on display, and this kind of plays into it, not really, but it's close in nature to that concept with this girl, and she's literally just washing away. It was like solid kind of getting watered down, and I like that. And then just abstract, creating a scene in a background. Sometimes I like to play with how the backgrounds are situated. Sometimes I have very detailed backgrounds, and sometimes the background is just kind of hinted at in order to create a fuller scene. Really, I just want to capture these like little snapshots with my art, and this is a nice example of how you can kind of create that and still use limited. You know, sometimes I like to have a limited palette, have a limited even stroke for the art. Like, how many brush strokes can you put down and still convey the same message? It's all very minimalist. So, dramatic concept, but here it is. There's that. This. Okay, so this piece right here is another iteration of my women on display. It's a theme that I worked on. I keep talking about it because it keeps popping up. I really, in the midst of all the Me Too conversations that was happening, just in the midst of just this kind of feeling that, you know, this is an important topic, I wanted to paint these women on display. It was partly how I was just feeling, and it was partly just the fact that, you know what, this is a story that I could effectively tell. And I had so many different ways I iterated it. In the last sketchbook tour, I showed the kind of just black and white sketch of the women chained, and that was one way I was interpreting the message. But this is different in a lot of ways. Firstly, she's clothed, so the lack of clothing and the nudity that was in the other sketches is not prevalent here, and yet she's still vulnerable. She is in a nightgown, she's hunched over. It's more in the form of the figure, and it's more in the color palette. I always like to play with the temperature of a piece. Usually my backgrounds are cool tone, and that's on purpose. Usually I play with like cool tones and graying down backgrounds and a lack of like focus on the backgrounds, because that will make the figure in the middle, who I usually tend to have like a warm toned figure, mostly because I gravitate towards reds. Hello, it's my favorite color to like incorporate, but also because I feel like, one, it works well with the type of figures. I paint black people. I am a African American woman. I paint black people primarily, and it, one, works better with skin tones to have this kind of warmed tone, in my opinion. And number two, it it emphasizes certain things. Like you'll see in great films, you'll see like they play with temperature, but you know, this specific scene, it is all warm tone. I did not separate the background from the main character. The hot lamps that she is being shined with, those are yellow and red. I really wanted to emphasize that these lights are hot, they are bright, they are shining on them, and I wanted to play in the layers on her. So there's that. The background, the platform she's on, even the landscape is all in a like warm purple that is also kind of hinted in the shadows of her dress and of her clothing. She is kind of a part of the whole scene. There's no real separation, and I think that's a very impactful way to give off, again, the feelings of isolation and vulnerability. And it's like you're looking at an object because there's no separation. Out of all of the concepts that I went through, this was one of my favorites, and it was going to be a final one that I like actualized, but then again, I wasn't painting, and then the art slump, and I wasn't really sure, and I always felt iffy about starting this, especially when I thought about doing the nude characters, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I never want to be vulgar, but I also want something like this to have a real message and a real meaning. Until I figured it out, I just didn't want to attempt it. But this piece, I may come back to this, I do not know, but either way, I do love it. So there's that. Okay, and then I didn't work a lot in this specific sketchbook. The last couple of pieces are all to do with love, thank God. That was louder than that had to be. Yeah, so these were all love art pieces. I spent February 2 years in a row doing a week of love art. I love love. I'm one of those people that believe in romance. I believe in grand gestures. I believe in the kind of quiet moments that happen with love, of course. But I also really believe in the spicy, sparky, passionate moments, because what is art without passion? What is color without passion? What is life without passion? You know what I mean? So these are some love art photos, and this was the second attempt of love art photos that I did. The first attempts originated in these pieces right here. I love this photo, and I really wish I would paint more love art, but you need, you know, specific inspiration for that, and I didn't have a lot of reference photos to go on when I started the series. But yeah, I wish I should paint more of these. Maybe I'll paint a lot more sexy scenes, you know. Anyway, so this was 2017, and then 2018 looked like this. So the first picture, very warm tone. There's a dining room table involved, you know. And I did this for Inktober. Oh, did I do this for Inktober? Yeah. So this wasn't love art. This was Inktober. But here's number one. This one was just kind of a silhouette and a girl. I'm very proud of the butt. I have a big problem with proportions. Like a big problem. I wasn't, you know, trained at all in art. I just kind of picked up a brush one day and started drawing and painting, and so proportions I still struggle with. But here, I think it came off very well. I'm not happy with the background at all or with the silhouette, but the main girl, I can rock with that. I like her, so we have her. And then the final one that I absolutely love is this one right here. It doesn't look like a little postcard. The butt is not as good. The butt is not as good, but the couple is romantic, and this is the image that I would be happy to have like on a greeting card or something like that. And it looks so romantic. It plays into love and art because I wanted to tell a story other than isolation. I really wanted to transform my work from, you know, being foresty and landscapey and that sort of thing, and kind of showcase another side. And this is that. So these pieces, I really should frame them and just put them around. Maybe not this one in the living room, but these are that. Okay, so second notebook time. This is the 5.5 times 8.5 Canson notebook. This sketchbook is mixed media paper, and this was started in 2016. I kind of started this, would work on it, get bored, restart in a couple months later. I picked this up on and off. The main purpose when I first got this was to work on making realistic faces. Again, it's something I struggle with. And then it kind of just ended up being whenever I just wanted to work on something. So there's a lot of different concepts in this. But again, this, similarly to the other sketchbooks, I ended up stopped working in by end of 2018. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now, this, a lot of this is dated, thankfully. So this was from 11/27/16, and this was just a quick sketch. I really like the hair and the color. I started off working in this with a minimum palette because, again, I was trying to work on actual facing, and I'm glad that this spanned so long because since primary focus was working on figures, I can see how well I got and how much better I got from, say, this one to like some later on in this. So this is acrylic paints. Most of this is acrylic paints. There's a few exceptions, but we'll flip through. Another one. I don't really have a lot of commentary for the beginning of these. These were very beginning style paintings. The first renditions I had only started painting in March or May. When is my anniversary of art? I don't know, but I started the beginning quarter of 2016 painting for the first time. For my birthday, I just chose to get a bunch of art supplies. So even 6-7 months later in November, this is where I was at. This is my self-portrait. It kind of looks like me. Can you see it? Not a lot of detail here, but I just used a couple of colors again, and I think it kind of looks like me. I can see that I was getting a little better. This is from December 1st. Not much to say here, just a face. Oh, I love this. So this was just a sketch that I did from Pinterest, if I remember correctly, of a motto I'd seen, and I really wanted to get the shape. This inspires me. I really like the positioning of it too. It's just kind of a very romantic pose. The faces weren't great. It was something I struggled with. Another one with a high collar. Another self-portrait. This was me, a picture of me I remember from my first spa trip. I'd gone and gotten a hot stone massage, and this was like my face afterwards, just like, I'm so relaxed, and I wanted to capture it. So I still do not paint eyes well. They look unfocused, but there's that. This is something I did in 2018. I circled back and I wanted to start filling up the blank pages. So it's just a scene, a passageway into like a courtyard or something. And then this was done 3/22/17. I had seen a picture of a girl, a little kid, and I loved her hair, and I just thought this would be a striking photo. This, another lady. This is another one of myself. This is from 3/24/17. This is my attempt at a body figure portion. It's not very proportioned well at all. The head is definitely bigger than the body. The shoulders look a little funny to me, and the legs are not correct at all. But I was trying and learning and practicing, which was important. Another one of me. This one, I don't think it looks very much like me. I think the shape was off, and that was probably due to the reference photo, but here we go. This one was done with some line work on top of the acrylic painting. I was in the style where I really like bold line work. I still kind of do, but I don't use it as often in my work. But back in the beginner stages of my art, it was all I really did. I would paint something and then definitely go very almost anime style with the line work. It's not something I do anymore, but it does make bold color and make the characters stand out more. This was an attempt at a girl doing a selfie. And I went ahead, I didn't like the background, so I covered it in black. But that was fun. The faces, the faces, it's not an artistic choice a lot of times. It's just because the face is bad. That's what it is. So there's that. Okay, another self-portrait. This specifically was a picture of myself when I did, you know, those little things in the kiosk that you can go into, and they take like a photo booth of like 5 photos. This was one of the pictures. And then I made that picture of myself as reference into like a caricature. And I really like the hair and how it came out. So it's only like slightly based off of me, but there we go. This was done with those Tombow pins and then some liner on top. Another face. This is the most boring sketchbook I have because it was really just me practicing everyday different faces and various styles. Now we're starting to get away from the dates and starting to move away from the faces. Very quickly we will move towards some concepts I started throwing in this book. And that's well into 2018 where I started saying, you know what, I'm tired of painting faces, I want to paint things, which go Marnise for switching it up in the sketchbook. But let's see. Oh gosh, these two are unfinished. They were gestures that I did that I wanted to make into characters, and they're supposed to be like cool hair and that sort of thing, but it just kind of ended up not liking it and then leaving it and forgetting about it. Another girl. Man, I really painted a lot in this sketchbook. Another girl. Another day where I was just playing around. This one is a concept done 6/12/17, and it is actually the inspiration between this piece right here. So of course a few things changed from the original reference photo here and then the final portrait, but I think they came out really well. This was just something done as the back of someone's ponytail with the ribbon showing. Another figure. Another figure. Actually at this time purple was really a very common color I use, and it's not anymore. Now I think my most used color, I don't know, maybe it's red, but for a long time purple was like my automatic grab when I was painting. Another figure, another lady, and now we get into concepts. This is something I did in 2018. I'm gonna take my note off of this. This is a naked girl in the corner. Again, we talked about that isolation, vulnerability, nudity concepts. This was one of those kind of ideas of it. I did it with mostly markers. Peep the picture frame up here because again, that was a concept. Picture frames and objects and things that I had worked on. If you saw part 1, it's talked about there with the picture frame concept, but I kind of incorporated them together. This I kind of did in like a frenzy. You can kind of tell from the shading that I didn't really give this a fair shot to make it into a full concept, but I don't know, it's not my favorite, but it was done with the intention of like getting an idea out. Another face. Okay, so this was done in 7/17, and this was done again acrylic paint, but it has a little bit of a line work on top. Just use a random ink pen on top. Now this was done a little bit later. This was just, I really wanted to do some closing. This is a marker, and I often from this point on would try and paint clothing, figure out how to sketch clothing correctly, and not really indicate it like it is here, but actually kind of fully form a thought with the clothing. Another naked girl. Again, the face is missing, but from here you can't really tell. You still get this striking stare, this striking glare from a distance, and it's because even though I couldn't paint faces, I really wanted to have my figures give off expression, and you can do that when you pay attention to the way you're putting down the paint, the directionality of the paint strokes. You can actually emphasize a lot with that. That's something I learned over time. If you are rushing the paint, you might miss the opportunity to give your paint more feeling. It's almost like, to me, like art is like its own kind of magic. Every layer of paint you add, it transforms the picture. It gives it some depth, and if you pay attention to those little nuances, like how you're painting, what direction you're painting, and you see here, there's not a lot to indicate a face, but you can kind of tell automatically off rip that there is some anger here, because you've caught her again in this vulnerable moment, and that was what it is. She's like, oh my, what are you doing, like that. So there's this. This is my favorite. This was my low-key coffee girl. That was my intention for her. I did use some brown watercolors, some ink pens, and some few other colors that I just had lying around to kind of make this almost like she's dripping coffee. And she's holding her shoulder like this. She's kind of leaning into herself. Another one of my sad ladies, unfortunately. Right next to her, right across from her, was this Art Snacks. I did this, is it dated? No, it's not dated, unfortunately. But this was an Art Snacks, and I used all of the things that were provided. So the ink pens, I believe this had paint markers, which is what the yellow and red were. Those were paint markers. I know the red is a Liquitex paint marker, but I'm not sure about the yellow. But I really love these products. I still love paint markers. I think this was one of the first times I had a paint marker. And then this was a ballerina on display. So kind of a more lighthearted, more serious. She's clearly practicing. She's clearly, working on her footwork. I like how the whole scene came out, and I was very interested, surprisingly. I remember being very interested in the draping of the curtains that would be a part of the performance. I was in theater as a kid. I was in lots of things on stage, either background or stage crew, or just a whole bunch of things. I was in choir a lot, church and university, and drama club, and I went to performance arts after school. So basically, I'm very familiar with the stage. And when the curtains are closed, when the curtains are open, when the curtains are being shifted to change the scene, it all gives you a lot of different meanings and instructions. Like, you learn your cues from the curtain. And so then I had this inspiration about a series of stages and performance-based kind of things. And then also I read this book called Prima Donna. It's literally over 500 pages long. It's by Karen Swan, and I read this book by her, and it's about this kind of like very tough, very bold ballerina who's not staying constrained to the normal prima ballerina lifestyle, and she's kind of like, she does runway models in her ballerina gear, which you're not supposed to do, and she drinks and goes public partying, and she's kind of just living this celebrity lifestyle as a prima ballerina when you don't do that. And it's a really, really engaging story, but the concepts that played throughout that book, I really thought about them, and I was like, I could reread that book and then create a series of paintings based off the book, and then I could combine my love of reading and my love of art, and I could make a whole big thing. I still want to do that because, one, I haven't reread that book in years, because it's over 500 pages. That's the reason why. But two, I really like ballerina culture. I love going to see the Nutcracker. I love, because I grew up in a theater background and arts and performances and that sort of thing. Things like going to see musicals and Broadway shows. That I love doing that. So anyway, that's a long, long discussion about this, but let's move on. This was a sketch that later became this photo right here. Hot summer day in June. It's up on my wall, but it's really big and I don't want to grab it right now. But this was the first iteration. This was mostly just, what would a warm tone, fantastical forest look like? Oh, this was done in watercolor. I still hate watercolor, but this was the concept. I liked this idea of a girl going out sketching or going out to shop, and then I went on this side. I wanted to play with what the scene could look like, so I did a couple of thumbnails of how you could change and interact this background. Okay, these I did with a warm gray, and gray. So I don't remember the specific colors I used. I know one was the Charvin Arts Warm Gray, and you can see like it has almost a tan tone to it. And then the other, this is a landscape, and then this is a royal lady. I really love the outfit. God, I love the outfit. No face again, but the indication and just the bright pink lip, I love that. I also like how the outfit and the body actually ended up looking very chiseled. Normally I'm very fluid with the body. My proportions are not really right, and it just kind of looks like, you know, person, acceptable person, but it's never really like chiseled. Like I was trying to get off the feeling of stone, like this person is carved. And I think I really did that with the kind of sharp line work. I used the flat brush for this, and I think that's what made the difference. I don't know, but I feel like it did. I feel like it did. Two randoms, no idea why. This was a girl breathing fire. Feel about that how you will. And then almost a robot girl in front of a pink door. No real reason for this other than I picked 3 colors and I said go, and this is what came out. Maybe it was the time of day, maybe it was the week I had been having, but this was the spread I came up with, and I'm just gonna accept that and move on. Another one of my silent girls, this one in a very poofy sleeve dress, and that is supposed to indicate paint or tape over the mouth, like the mouth is taped off. Next we have these ladies on display. It's 2 sides. The first 2 ladies, they're kind of supposed to be more like statues. So that gray tone one we just showed was statues and statuesque. This is the same kind of rendition. I really wanted to paint like a garden of statues. It's supposed to be my own courtyard of painted mannequins, kind of, but like also fashion-esque mannequins. They were each supposed to have very complimentary outfits, orange and green coloring on them. Do we like? I like. And then of course it would have been a longer canvas where they would both all be side to side. So just a view of like a sea of women. This is a piece where the girl's blending into her own background. Her skin is like, there's some color there, but now it's just kind of fading away and she's turning into a blue person. That was the concept. This is another purple lady. And then this was like that original black and white sketch, but in color. I wanted to see what that sketch would look like with color, and it kind of, this was rejected mostly because it looked too pastel. It didn't have the same emotion as when it was side by side with this piece right here. It's not the same. They don't match. One does not go with the other. You know, this was too I don't really know the words for it. It's not that it wasn't a horrid scene. It's just that the color choices turned the tone of this into something almost amusing. Like, this isn't a joke at all, and that's why I was not happy with the color choices. It might be effective in a colorful way, but not with these kind of pastel colors. I think it makes light of the message that was trying to be conveyed. And then we have this right here. This was, again, right. This had to be like right in December of 2018, maybe. I like the hair. And actually it reminds me of this Japanese artist. I can remember her name. I'll insert it here, but I probably can't remember. But she is a Japanese artist, has really red hair, and she did these kind of abstracted pieces. I think she did like a room full of red dots, if I'm not mistaken, or something like. Anyway, this was supposed to be some kind of like patchwork, and I had messed up on it, so I covered it up with black ink. But she's supposed to be in like this patchwork skirt and kind of just leaning over. Overall, I'm not thrilled with this as a last piece, but the hair I'm excited about. So like there's a saving grace there. Like, I like the hair. And then the last 2 pieces were accidentally put several pages later. This was, to start off with, just I was trying, you guys, but the art slump was just coming on hard, so I just kind of did this little rose scene with some flowers. And then finally, this is the last scene. It is a lady in a forest, and she is hiding, kind of. When I put figures next to trees, I'm really representing that they are alone for real. There's no communication here. There's not really anything to interact with here. You're just in the midst of the forest. And so anyway, she's there and she's magical, indicated by the red glow. I didn't go further with the concept, but that was really it. And so she's in a tree. There's a sunset in the back, and yeah. So I do like her little outfit. Her little survival bikini is very cute. I wish I had something like that. And this is the last thing in this sketchbook. I finished it off with like maybe 10 pages left to do. Yeah, 10-ish pages left. But like, when I stopped painting, I stopped caring about this sketchbook as well. So those are the last two of my abandoned sketchbooks. So anyway, my name is Marnise Nicole. I'm going to sign off here. Thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.